And with that, we are going to move to our movie reviews, and we have 2 for you this time.
Another Movie Nights double feature.
Yes, because we missed out on a week here. And the movies we're going to talk about today are... I just realized they probably suddenly saw my hat go backwards. The movies we're going to be talking about are The Whale and Babylon.
Yes.
The Whale, directed by Darren Aronofsky. Babylon.
Baby Lion.
Yeah, directed by Damien Chazelle. Let's do The Whale first.
Okay.
So, jumping right into it.
Yes.
All the hype you hear about the Brendan Fraser performance, believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I also am in contention that I don't know if it's going to happen, but the actress playing his nurse deserves a Best Supporting Actress nomination as well. Yes. I thought she was phenomenal. Sadie was also good. Mm-hmm. I think the performances are better than the movie. I don't think the movie is bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's a good film. Mm-hmm. But I don't think the movie lives up to the performance, the lead performance. I compared this movie to Elvis in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And then I know people feel differently than me on this, but I feel like Elvis is a good movie, but that mostly relies on how good Austin Butler is in that movie. Mm-hmm. The Whale, without this Brendan Fraser performance, I'm not even sure if I would like the movie. Mm-hmm. And I love Darren Aronofsky and everything. I just never had the chance to quite really get into the film. I feel like some of the script is a bit uneven, mm-hmm. and there are sequences that just don't work for me. I ultimately think it's just a movie that thinks it's better than it is.
Okay.
And again, it's not a bad film. I sound like I'm shitting on the film.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has great production design. I think the cinematography is good. Just the overall story and how they told it, I thought could have been done way better. And without the performance, like, he carries the movie on his back, personally, I think.
Yes.
And while I enjoyed the movie and I think it's good, I think he's the standout of the movie. Mm-hmm. And I think other than him and the actress playing the nurse, who was also in the menu, I'm forgetting her name, but she was great in both.
She was. I didn't register that was her.
Yeah.
That's good.
The actress playing his ex-wife did not do a good job. And I love Simpkins, who also has a role in the film. I also didn't think he did a very good job. Mm-hmm. But everything else about the movie, other than... What is that you say all the time? I love everything about the movie except the movie. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about The Whale. Mm-hmm. Although, like, I normally give out grades, but like I'd probably give it like a B, mm-hmm. B minus maybe, but an A plus performance.
But the performances get it to that rating.
Yeah, an A plus performance, yeah. And from Brendan Fraser, and even the actress. I'm gonna get her name when you're talking, but I think they were excellent in the movie. And I think here's the good critic answer: the movie is not as good as the sum of its parts. Okay. Haha. Puzzles. But I don't dislike the movie. I think the movie is fine. And I think the surface level of the story works. Mm-hmm. But for example, when I watched the trailer, I was like, oh, I'm going to cry during this movie. I didn't cry once. Mm-hmm. And it's not the performer's fault. I just think that this is also adapted from a play. And I think that there's moments in the movie that work on stage that don't work in a film. But I do think Darren Aronofsky did bring some filmmaking stuff that I enjoyed. Like, there's sequences I love, you know. To me, I didn't buy that the story took place over the course of a week, you know. Mm-hmm. Just that kind of stuff just didn't really go well for me. But there's nothing in the movie that I think is particularly awful either, you know. Mm-hmm. Like, I know there's a lot of controversy with the movie. I didn't feel that when watching it. I thought it told the story in a very respectful way to someone gaining that weight and how their life would be. It's a story about hope. It's a story about the loss of hope. Mm-hmm. And there's a big thing in the movie that also kind of teetered me away a bit, which is, I don't know if I should spoil it. They come to a conclusion. Brendan Fraser's character comes to a conclusion about his daughter. That is just not the case. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, I mean, spoil it. It's limited.
Okay.
It's
limited
out,
release.
Yeah.
Quick spoilers. She does something to Simpkins' character to kind of get him in trouble and get him sent home. And Brendan Fraser comes to the conclusion that, oh, she's really a good person because she did it to send him home to be with his family. Yeah. No, she didn't. Mm-hmm. That's not what happened. And, you know, and I can see the argument of that not being the point of the scene, of whether or not she did that for that reason. Because I do love there is a setup in this movie that turned on its head that I loved. And while we're spoiling, there's an essay that he likes to have repeated to him to calm him down. And it's setting it up, to me at least, it was setting it up to where his ex-lover wrote that.
Oh, I knew it was the daughter right away.
See, it got me when it was the daughter. And I was like, oh, I liked that much more. Mm-hmm. And there's scenes in the movie that I love. Like, there's a heartbreaking scene with Brendan Fraser when he realizes that his daughter wrote a haiku.
Yeah.
Excellent. Like, the performance is beautiful in the movie. But yeah, overall, I think the movie is good. Mm-hmm. I think the performance is out of this world, and he will absolutely get an Oscar nomination, possibly win. Your thoughts?
I agree with everything you said about the performances. Mm-hmm. In terms of who was good, it was certain plot elements, like the whole Ty Simpkins character, like the religion storyline of it, I think kind of seemed like they wanted to go in on it more and were hesitant to do that. Yeah. Which I think hurt the movie. Mm-hmm. Something I really like, and again, kind of agreeing with a lot of your points here. Mm-hmm. I think something that worked for me a lot was there was a lot of ambiguity with answers that I think worked to my level. Like, I knew that the daughter wrote the essay. They do not give you an answer as to if she did it purposefully or not. Brendan Fraser's character jumps to that conclusion, but that could be chalked up to his own optimism, him wanting...
Sure, because he is a very optimistic guy.
He's an optimistic guy, and that is allowing him... Because the whole thing, it takes place over a week because he knows he's dying, right? That's in the trailers. That's like and that's him coming to terms with that and his own mental state, writing this script that allows him to go peacefully. Yeah, and I think that worked. That and you as the audience can decide: are you agreeing with Brendan Fraser? Or are you not? And same thing with the nurse, because we reveal a tie-in of her and Brendan Fraser, their connection.
Yes, which I enjoyed.
Which I enjoyed very much. But here's the thing now. Are you looking at is she actually trying to help him? Because she's also an enabler. So deep down in her subconscious, is she also feeding him to get back at him? Well, what? And I liked that wasn't, that you can leave that to your own interpretation.
Sure, yeah.
And the thing, too, is he's a very optimistic character, and you find yourself rooting at him. And again, the movie does a great job of masking it. He's kind of a selfish person. He's a very selfish person because
he is flawed, for sure.
He's very flawed, and the biggest thing was he wanted to reconnect with his daughter to try to help her, but all he's doing is hurting her because now he's going to build this connection or whatever be it, and then he's going to die and put her through more trauma.
Yeah.
Which I think was selfish of the character.
Yeah.
And those elements all worked for me, but the script and overall was very simple. It was adapted from a play. I think it maybe could have used one or two more just flip throughs, but the performances with what they had, everything worked beautifully on it.
I agree. And kind of to your point.
Yeah.
Ultimately, he's hurting her, and I like that he's flawed. He's a flawed character.
Yeah.
And I think that that point that you brought up of him being like, oh, he's hurting the daughter, and just, he knows he's dying and he won't go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with him accepting that he wants to die and that even his caretaker is letting him die. But to me, I don't know, there's almost just not enough effort to save him. Because even he gave up on himself so quickly, and it's heartbreaking to see, and it reflects in the performance.
Yeah.
And he's not in a great position in his life either. And I love the sequence when you find out that he has that money.
Yeah.
When the nurse finds out. But it's just, I didn't buy, even in his circumstances in his life, that nobody called the ambulance. I'll tell you my favorite through line throughout the whole movie, and the most heartbreaking, was the pizza guy.
Yeah.
That was beautiful and heartbreaking all in once.
And a jump scare.
A bit, yes. But yeah. I like the movie. I can see myself watching it again, but only to show somebody else.
Yeah.
You got to see this performance. Like if I tell someone to see this movie, I'm watch it for the performance.
Yes.
And it's not again, I'm sounding like I don't like the movie. I do.
I mean, from a technical standpoint, the direction, the
cinematography, the production design in
the
particular,
makeup.
the makeup is going to get an Oscar for sure.
Yes. It's just the story itself was very simple and basic in its premise.
And I don't mind simple and basic stories.
I mean, Banshees was.
Yeah, exactly. But I was engrossed that whole film.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it was just so much more, to me, well written.
Yeah.
And than this movie. And let's see. The actress's name was Chau.
Chau.
Did an amazing job. Amazing.
Now, here's the thing. I very much liked it. In the world of recommend, don't recommend. It's a highly recommend.
In the world of recommend or don't recommend, I also recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think that the performance is far better than the movie thinks it is.
And sometimes that's okay.
Sometimes that's okay.
Sometimes you can just watch a movie for the performance.
And this is where I piss people off. Let's talk about Babylon.
Let's talk about Babylon.
Brother, I like this movie a lot. I liked it a lot, dude. I'm not going to lie to you. I liked it so much. Now, granted, this movie is over 3 hours long.
Yeah,
Should it have been 3 hours? No. Is there stuff in the last hour that just, from a script structure standpoint, does not work? Absolutely. Should they have figured out a better way to end the film other than the Lord of the Ringsing it, as you like to put it?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, they should have done that. Did I enjoy the ever-loving fuck out of this movie?
But do you miss the great movie ride at Hollywood Studios?
Yes. And the first 90 minutes of this movie is the best movie I've seen all year.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best movie I've seen all year.
We did it with The Whale. We're just going to have to go spoilers on this one.
Yeah, spoilers.
We'll put the tag on it. We'll call it a day. Yeah.
Because it's been a minute since it's been out.
And it's made so much money. Everyone's clearly seen it.
But, like, okay.
I don't even know where to begin. There's too much.
Yes. So, first of all, right when the elephant shits on that dude in, like, the opening scene, I'm like, oh, this movie's for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the direction, Damien Chazelle is one of the best directors working today. The whole party sequence, the camera movements, the score is badass.
The pan in and pans out from a trumpet. I hope you liked those in La La Land.
Oh, yeah, because there's more of them.
Do you get more of them here?
The performances were excellent. I think Margot Robbie deserves a Best Actress nomination.
Mm-hmm.
I think Diego Calva, is that his name?
I believe so, yeah.
I've never seen him before. I thought he did excellent. Brad Pitt's always good. PJ Byrne, that's his name.
The assistant to the director.
It won't happen. This guy deserves a Best Supporting Actor nomination. In this movie, he plays an assistant to one of the filmmakers in the silent era, and when they go into the talkies, who fucking crushes every second he's on screen. He's also in Wolf of Wall Street, like Margot Robbie.
And The Boys.
And yes, and this movie reminds me of Wolf of Wall Street. This movie reminds me of Wolf of Wall Street meets Uncut Gems. That's how this movie feels to me. It's constant anxiety and panic, but it's through the lens of the film industry and the drugs and the partying.
Yeah.
And like I said, the first 90 minutes are incredible. And the second 90 minutes aren't terrible. They just don't live up to the first half.
Yeah.
For flaws, the movie is too long, like I mentioned before. It goes into a direction in the final act of the movie that even I thought was like, okay, this is too much. This sequence was not needed.
Yeah.
You could have reworked this and kept the pacing better. Because that's the pacing of the movie is a bit back and forth. Mm-hmm. I do think the first hour of the movie doesn't even feel like an hour. Like it's just on all cylinders. And there are all-time favorite sequences in this movie. Like when Diego Calva has to go get that camera and then drive back and they got to get the shot before sunset and that director's just fucking losing it. Like, my fucking movie's ruined.
And like Brad Pitt's drunk off his ass.
And then the guy dying on the flagpole and they're like, he ran into it.
He ran into,
But and just the juxtaposition of seeing how films were chaotically made in the silent era and then switching to the closed set.
Yeah, because they had, 30 movies running at once on a set because you didn't have to care about the sound. And then all of a sudden now you have the person in the sound box, you have the mic, you have to be specifically right underneath it. You have all these elements.
And I've seen controversy about the final scene of this film.
Mm-hmm.
I dug it, personally. Do I think that it set it up to end several times and didn't? Yes, and that should have been corrected.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the ultimate story of this movie being... The ultimate question this movie asks is the magic and beauty of the movies worth the absolute death and shit that you go through in Hollywood?
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth it? and it's the perfect antithesis to La La Land, which was also directed by Damien Chazelle, and I will be doing double features in the future of La La Land and Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I loved it. It had me the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does the second act drag and you start feeling that runtime? Yeah. And I think that there's even little sequences you could clean up and get out. Like, I like the idea of them hiring somebody to help Margot Robbie's character be more couth, if you will.
Yeah.
But I feel like part of that storyline could have been cut. You could have just had that be shown. Of the montages in this movie, that could have been part of a montage.
Yeah.
To me. And it's wild, it's crazy, it's high octane, and it just keeps you on your toes.
Yes, it does.
Thoughts, Nicholas?
I very much enjoyed the movie. As it stands right now, I don't think it's in my top 10 currently.
I haven't even begun to try that list.
That's fair. I think all the performances were fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think Margot Robbie definitely deserves. It's probably my favorite role I've seen her in a while.
Yeah, she's great in it.
Brad Pitt shows up and he's Brad Pitt, but you're like, it's Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Even Olivia Wilde makes a little cameo.
Yeah. A lot of cameos in the movie. I was like, oh, him. Eric Roberts shows up for a bit.
Dude, when I saw Eric Roberts,
I went, is that Eric Roberts? Yeah. And it was.
they just dropped a surprise Eric Roberts.
And I think the movie's a lot of fun. It's very high octane, which I enjoyed, and Damien Chazelle's style of directing fits that wonderfully. And, all the early reviews, calling it like a hate letter to Hollywood 11 movies, as cheesy as it sounds, that is accurate.
That's exactly what it is.
And again, I think there was some tightening up that could have happened. For example, in the film, I won't go into deep spoilers, but Tobey Maguire's whole sequence, who's in the trailers, and I was like 2 hours into the movie and I went, how has Tobey not been in this yet?
He's great in the movie, by the way.
And he's great. The whole purpose of his scene, though, led me to a conclusion that I was already at, personally.
I agree with you. I do.
But that being said, it was a fun sequence because, like, this other character who's, like, this drug dealer on sets is hysterical.
Yeah.
And Tobey Maguire gives a great performance, and I'm just happy to see my boy again, who I feel so bad because he's an executive producer on this movie, and the movie's not doing well. Mm-hmm. But again, like, that saves you 20 minutes right there. And maybe it's just me. I jumped to the conclusion that that's set up already. And just... I called it the Lord of the Rings ending because it just kept going, and the thing is there were all these separate storylines, so I appreciate that they concluded them. Mm-hmm. But each time it ended, I was satisfied. And I was like, I didn't really need more after this. And they kept going. I'm like, all right, that was fine. And then they kept going. And then we get into that great movie ride montage. And I'm like, what's happening right now? And then it ends. I went, fair. But, like, the whole concept when he goes to the theater and is watching Singing in the Rain and seeing the glorification of this era that brought the characters so much heartbreak and seeing characters that he watched witness certain events, I thought was so good.
Amazing.
And I was like, yes, stop. Like, that, at that point, like, when they wrap up Brad Pitt's storyline, when they wrap up Margot Robbie's, I'm like, okay, yes, I'm satisfied with this. And then that happened, and I went... Because then that scene starts where he's, like, older and everything, and they go through, and I'm like, all right, come on. And then that happens, I go, please stop. Just stop. Yeah. Like, you got it. And then it kind of trickles into chaos, and I'm like, I get what they were going for. But I was like, oh, like, I took so much away from that scene that I was upset that there was a little more after.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But overall, very much enjoyed the movie. I think as it stands right now, it is probably my third favorite of Damien Chazelle's four.
Okay.
I go La La Land, Whiplash, this, and then First Man.
That's probably how I see it as well. Although, gotta say it, love First Man. People give it shit. It's a great movie. It's a great fucking movie. And Whiplash versus La La Land is a battle I don't enjoy doing because I have a very special place in my heart for both of those films.
Yeah.
How Whiplash didn't win Best Picture, I mean, I know how because no one ever saw it, but it was nominated. But, like... it was the best movie of that year.
All this movie did was solidify Damien Chazelle as one of the best directors currently working.
Yes, and it's a shame that it's dividing critics. It is The Accountant of 2022. That movie's great. I don't know why.
I wouldn't compare it to Babylon though. Like,
no. I mean, it's nothing like that movie. But in terms of like, there's a split.
There's an even split. Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
recommend.
That is a recommend very
it's
much
long.
So. It's long. If you got 3 hours to kill,
I
give it a watch.
will get the 4K.
There you go.
Yes.
He has the 4K Morbius though, so take that with a grain of salt.
I mean, what if you
take that at what you want?
You're saying if you didn't have the opportunity to get the 4K Morbius, you wouldn't get it?
I mean, I would, but
see, it's fine.
But come on,
it's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time.